the CEO of A Training. So, today we're going to deep dive into the world of aesthetics, talking about Chris's life and talking about the journey through his aesthetics career. So right now we're sat in a massive purpose-built building that's for aesthetic training. This is where we are, I would assume, about 80% through the journey for you. But let's wind it back a little bit. How did we start at 1%? What was the jump that you had to make to get into this industry?
Well, one of 6 children. My dad's a miner. I come from a small village called South Kirby near Pontefract. I always kind of felt that I was slightly a little bit different, creative, never really fitted in at school. Academically good, top class, top results, but really just found things quite boring, got bored quite easily. So at the age of 16, I kind of went into hairdressing. My dad kind of wanted me to go more an academic route. As I said, I really did well at school, loved the teaching aspects of it. I kind of wanted to be a maths teacher. My dad wanted me to be a doctor, and I kind of did a YTS hairdressing. I've got no regrets. Achieved a lot, went to London, became an area manager, worked for a global big company, and then finally had my own business in London for 12 years. And then unfortunately my older sister, as I said, I'm one of 6, got ill, and she unfortunately got cancer, and I sold my business and it brought me back north. And in that kind of interim time, what it got me to do was really look at my life, what I wanted to do and what I wanted to achieve. And then I'm always a great believer in fate, and before I knew it, I kind of met someone who was teaching anatomy and physiology, kind of did a course, upgraded myself on skin. I was always interested in to do with skin and youth, anti-aging. Even though as a hairdresser, I kind of was always interested in the beauty side and ran the beauty portfolio for the company that I worked for. And to quick forward, I then opened here in 2009, predominantly really to look at the aesthetics part and how we could move it forward. We started with a very small room, 10 foot by 8 foot, and after my training, which it was really quite average, it's a fast track course, it cost me a lot of money, and at the end of it, although I could inject, I kind of felt like there was something missing. So I spent a lot of money, a lot of time training with lots of different people till I finally felt that I was good enough. And then obviously from my education point of view, I'd got a kind of teaching degree, etc., assessors, IQA. I decided that if I'm going to do this, I wanted to do it correctly. And then we just started from there really and moved forward. And I just felt that there was a gap, and we started really with referrals. It was all about, people telling other people that we were doing the training. And at that time, really, there was only 3 other training companies that actually trained medics and non-medics. So, the market share was, quite small. But now as you look and fast forward, the last 3 years, definitely, due to really the insurance company, I think, their way of actually deciding who and can inject really maybe has been diluted. The quality's gone, the training's gone. I think people just jumped on the bandwagon. I've got no problem with people, training, teaching, but I do think that the quality of teaching's gone. And now as we move into 2023, I think it's really exciting that having launched the qualification in 2019, we're now seeing that the government's taking things really seriously, and I think it will actually be the insurance that will change, and I think the regulation will make a big difference. For me personally, I think there'll be only around 80% of the people around 2024 that will actually be injecting, and they will be the true passionate people that will have done the regulated qualification and will be really serious about it. So probably a longer version of kind of where it started, but that's me in a nutshell.
So with your training, when you were going through that training initially, was there a moment where you thought, I can do this better? Or was it sort of later on when the industry started to become more and more expansive and you thought, I'm not too sure about the quality of what I'm seeing here?
I think it's a little bit of both. I've always been a great believer in fate. I've always been a great believer in you meet people for a reason. And as part of being invited to do the Bruce Keogh report and be on the expert reference in 2013, I met a great kind of mentor in Tiffany Tarrant, and she worked for Happier at the time. And we became really good friends, and we had a common goal really within the industry to champion the underdog, really, to really push forward for those people who really, you know, I think the industry kind of got placed into two categories really. It was either dumbed down, you're a beauty therapist, or you're a creative person, so academically, you know, you don't have the rights to do what it is that you're doing. So I met some great people. I didn't have all the skill set. I don't profess to do that. And what I did was I surrounded myself with the right people, the people who not only wanted the best for the industry, but had the skill set. And then we gathered all of those people and spent probably about 7 years in total and a couple of £100,000 putting together the qualification, which really frustratingly stalled in that we hadn't an awarding body who presented themselves to put the level 7, and then at the last minute they decided to jump ship and go with the other side, which kind of set us back 2 years before we eventually managed to work with another awarding body, and I've managed to get the level 7 on the RQF. But in that time, even though the level 7 has happened, I think the whole industry has become awash with people who've jumped on the bandwagon, seen it as being a great quick fix. I think social media, Instagram, you know, has pushed forward. Obviously people want to do well, they want to earn a good living, and I think aesthetics is a great business to be in, and it's a profitable business. But I think the part that's missing is that standardized business professional window that, you know, albeit that these procedures are elective, you know, they're not medical procedures, they're not procedures that people are taking because they're ill or they've been injured or there's some issue that's affecting their state of well-being. This is some choice that the consumer is choosing to have this procedure electively. But in saying that, they are still procedures that, if done incorrectly, can have some major side effects. So education is the important part, really. But I do feel the shift is going, the wind of change is coming, and I think gone is all of this kind of bullying and, you know, everyone used to talk all the way through since I've been injecting all about all medics versus non-medics, and I've never really had that problem. You know, I think there's some great, fantastic medics that are injectors, some great, fantastic non-medics that are injectors, and like everything, there are some that are not, that really don't really do a justice to both sides of the scale. But that's on both sides, there's good and bad on both sides. And I think thankfully the government all the way through, every time I've engaged with them on whatever group, whether it be the APPG or the Bruce Keogh or whatever it is, they've all had the same kind of consensus, really. It's all about the safety of the consumer, but also about the growth of the economy. You know, this is a massive £1 billion business. That's why people want to kind of monopolise it. And I think now, thankfully, all of that talk about medic versus non-medic's gone, and now it's more about the qualifications here, the regulations are coming, it's time to mop up the industry, and it's great that the learner now has got a choice. You know, you can get a qualification that's going to future-proof your career and you now need to just make sure that you make the right choice, going to the right place to get the right education, because this is really something that you want to do once and you want to do it right. And the biggest thing that we constantly get here is, oh, you know, I paid X amount of money and I got promised this and it didn't happen, or the training wasn't right, or I only got one model, or I got a certificate and I didn't get the support. So I think, you know, when you're paying a lot of money out, you need to do your research. And on average, you know, anyone joining us, statistically, it takes a good 3 to 6 months for them to actually sign up, because we like the learner to do their research. We tell them to go away and think about it. You know, this is not easy. This is not going to be something that you are going to pass in 1, 2, 3, 4 months. This is going to be a long-term, minimum 12 months, and it's an academic kind of study that you're going to have to really kind of take time out and dedicate and put some time aside. But in saying that, it's worth it, and the people that we're seeing coming through are the ones that have achieved it. The success is phenomenal. It's great. It warms my heart to sort of feel and see that these people, the amount of time, the amount of dedication, the effort, and they are coming out absolutely fantastic and top of their game, and they can stand by anybody because they've got the full track, the full education, and their portfolio is good, and they're bossing it. They're at the top of their game, which is really good.
Well, A-Training does consistently champion that high level of standard, but you were involved with the BBC documentary, which went into the substandard procedures. Sort of going through that, was that an eye-opener for you, or did you already sort of know that was going on, but it's just sort of...
Well, I think if we reverse back a bit more, just before that, when the government actually made it a legal requirement for the individual to be 18, was a bit of a shocker for me, because I went down to government and I kind of just automatically thought that it was 18, and then I was shown videos and we looked at things where people were going into tanning shops and they were not even being questioned, and at 13, 14, maybe even younger, to be honest, they were being given treatments, lips, fillers, treatments that they should not have been offered. So that was a scary moment for me. I've got nieces, you know, recently, you know, one of my nieces who's only 11, who's being bullied at school for being overweight. She was kind of like, oh, Uncle Chris, you know, can you do my lips? Can I have lip filler? So I think, you know, I wasn't, you know, being a gay man, I wasn't brought up on social media, but being bullied at school, I think what for me is even worse now is the amount of pressure that's on everybody to look good and to be the best and have the best, or, you know, it's so strong and it's so bad anyway at such a young age, that I think it's a responsibility that we have as a practitioner. I mean, we introduced 3 years ago a personalised consultation. Laura Sexton joined us, and you know, she brought a personalised consultation where I do believe we have grown stronger from our clinic by actually taking time, doing a consultation, sending the client away, giving them a treatment plan. But that consideration sets you apart, but you have to be vulnerable in the economy, because, you know, everyone's suffering a little bit at the minute, and it's an easy game to kind of drop your prices, you know, let's half it, 50% off, you know, lip filler for 50, 60, 75 pound. And where does it go from there? But going back to, you know, the industry and the standard from the documentary, it was scary, you know, shocking. But I think across all industries, you know, without kind of dumbing down what I saw. It is in every industry. I think the difference in the cosmetic world is that we only necessarily highlight the bad and we don't highlight the good, and the message got lost in even the Bruce Keogh report. It was about the PIP implants, it was about breast implants, it was about surgeons that had chosen to put a silicone implant in that was cheap when they could have chosen a more expensive one, and these silicone implants obviously ruptured. So in 2013 I kind of went into a group where it was full of people that were saying, oh, you know, it's all about the beauty therapists, it's all about the people that they shouldn't be injecting Botox. And I'm like, isn't this about the PIP implants? And I think this is what happens. I think it all gets shrouded in a big kind of moment of sheep where it's all about the beauty therapists, it's all about they shouldn't be injecting, when it isn't about anybody should or shouldn't. It's about a pathway, it's about a choice, and it's about, on both sides there's an argument, and in all industries there's good and bad, but the best way to move forward, to mop up, is to make sure that every single person has access to a regulated qualification, and that is the beginning and the foundation part of any training. You know, if you get a Corgi gas fitter, they will follow a program, and an electrician will follow a program. It's a set standard. You know, there's a kite mark that everyone has to reach, and I think unfortunately this industry kind of backed into an area that really wasn't good, and it highlighted the parts that weren't good and brought that to the forefront, and then unfortunately the flag kind of was pinned on a few minority who were doing things that they shouldn't, and it covered up a lot of other people on both sides, medics and non-medics, that were performing things that were not done correctly. And as was highlighted by the BBC, you know, the reason why I got involved in it was a very fair documentation of across the board what is going on. It's very well documented that from both sides there is good and bad, and it kind of put a full stop on, this is not about who should or should not be injecting from where they've come from. Because if you look at the medical side, you know, there's 100,000 job vacancies in the NHS. You know, the NHS do a great job, but you know, it's failing because people really are not entering into the NHS. They're not, you know, they're not leaving school, they're not going forward, they're not choosing to go into that field. And you know, whether we like it or not, I've heard it said many times in the last 15 years, oh, I'm going to do my nursing because at the end of my nursing I'm going to go off into aesthetics. So, you know, why should it be that the only pathway is to use a 5-year, 3-year pathway of the taxpayers' money and then sideline and go off and jump into the aesthetics world? Why should a doctor or a nurse do the private sector and open up a clinic when their skill set is that they do or could do an amazing job, they could be part of the NHS and they could deliver doing something that is going to make a change from a life-changing point of view, not from a facial aesthetics point of view, but actually they could save a life, they could actually be being part of the NHS where maybe they originally signed up from. So again, I'm not going to get on my soapbox because I am 100% strong in that this is not about a medic or non-medic conversation. This is about a choice that if you wish at the end of your education to be able to inject, you should be able to join a thorough training pathway that gives you all aspects, all parts to thoroughly engage with everything that you need for competency to deliver the treatment safely. And then what's great that the government are doing, licensing the premises, I think is amazing, because, again, it's about being in the right premises. We see hundreds of different emails, responses from people doing training in hotel rooms, procedures are being done in kitchens, people drinking alcohol, all the rest of it, we've all heard it. And although it's a minority, I think once and for all what's happening, which is what the government's doing, is they're going to move forward and it's going to happen, and we'll all be really put through the same standardisation, and therefore it will mop it up and it will feel better at the end of it.
So we've talked a little bit there, sort of more about some of the negative sides of it and how it can be mopped up, but recently we've seen one of the most positive sides of it. We've recently had about 13 people, am I right, graduating through to the level 7.
Yeah.
And we've had that, the celebration, and we've seen all these people come through. They've put an incredible amount of hard work into it, and now they've achieved and they've future-proofed their career. Yeah. Through going through that. So are there any other moments like that that really kind of make you feel, wow, we're actually doing something very important here?
I think every day, if I'm honest. I mean, we're very lucky. I'm surrounded with 27 staff who, at this point in my career, we have an amazing team. I'm very blessed, all from different areas, different backgrounds that have come together. And we create a fun environment, but a professional environment. And it's great to see people come back and you forget really just how many people we have kind of opened the door to a brand new kind of world, to a new business and a new career. And you hear it said time and time again, oh, I always wanted to do this. I never thought I could do it. I never thought I could achieve it. And on the back of it, they're running successful businesses. They're juggling, families. It's able, to make decisions about, being independent, being their own boss. Yes, earning, profit, but at the same time, they can kind of tailor their day, tailor their weeks, tailor their hours around family. The life balance is better. And they get choices, and everybody should, for me, have the ability, if their aspirations are that they want to do something, they should be able to do it, and it should be available. So 100% every day I come to work, I love what I do, I'm surrounded by a great team. We've created a massive kind of portal business here of lots of different activities. There's never a dull day. People say to me, you should have cameras on the walls and you'd make a documentary series 100%. In itself. The characters, the models, the people, the learners. So, every day, I think every day makes me good, makes me feel good.
Yeah. And then with models, how do you feel about that, where you see some training and you see maybe one model, maybe two models, and the thing that I see most from being here is just the vast amount of models that you do see. Each person that goes through has multiple days. They have multiple different models with different sort of, similar treatments, but ever so slightly different tweaks that they have. It's not just a blanket, you have this and that's what everyone has. There seems to be more of a tailored aspect to what you learn here, and that only seems to be something that you get when there are multiple models with slightly different needs.
The key thing for me is people who are creative learn from doing. Majority of people, kinesthetic, they kind of hands-on, repeat and reflective practice. It's all about repeating, it's all about doing, it's all about hands-on, and you can only do that from, we've got over 15,000 model database. Through these kind of walls, we have around about 250 models a week. So that comes from really lots of different diverse kind of face, genders. So that gives the ability for the learner to practice. And from our point of view, having delivered over 500,000 in treatment plans since we've been open here, we've been able to really deal with complications, go through situations that will avoid the learner going through those situations, learn the hard way and put things right and client manage. So again, those models are so important, and we pride ourselves in it's unlimited. We launched at the beginning of this year unlimited development days, because one of my frustrations is the courses that I've paid for and I've been on, you'll always get that one person or two people that will sort of stand at the back, not push themselves forward, be quieter, and then you'll get the character at the front that is the pushy bolshy one, and they'll get to do the model, or they'll be confident. But everyone kind of at the end of it gets a certificate, and I kind of think, well, how do you know that everyone's competent? So for me, development days, unlimited models, it's not just about being competent, it's about actually being confident and really getting to that stage in your craft where you actually stand back and you feel like you can boss it, you can do it. And for us, what's happened there by doing that, we've almost created this culture where it's a community. The family of A Training is all of our learners come back time and time again, and they're all sat around. You'll hear them talking, all from different cohorts, different kind of training courses, and they just constantly say how great it is to be able to do the amount of models, unlimited, and that gives them the confidence to know that when they do go to another training company, they come back and they go, but I only did, or we shared a model, or I only did one model. I mean, personally for me, the last training course I did, I paid £3,500 for a day. This person was good, but having got to the place to do the training, the person said, oh, we've got one of the models has not turned up, we've got one model between two. So that was me and someone else paying £7,000 for this day, and we shared a model. And the trainer said, oh, you're a natural, you're really, really good. Here's your certificate. I'm a great believer if you pick one thing up from a training course, that's great. But thankfully, I'd got all of my knowledge, all of the experience to come away from that and feel confident and competent. But I'm not sure if I hadn't come away doing that, I wouldn't have got that certificate. And that's where the problem is. I think too many people print a certificate, and basically it's just a way of them gaining money, really, and cheapening the industry.
We've gone in A Training's journey, we've gone from a very small room to this massive building that we have now. I would imagine each step there you've had to take a big jump, and taking financial risk, risk to your own reputation. How can you deal with that mental stress during those periods, and how do you sort of almost believe in yourself to take that next step? Because it's not a small step, it's a big step, big rewards, but potentially big losses.
I'm a great believer in fate, I'm a great believer in destiny, I'm a great believer in meeting the right people at the right time, I'm a great believer in the universe and energy, and a trust, really. I think be authentic, admit it when you get it wrong, and I've got things wrong. And from my own personal growth, I think really, if I'm going to do it, I have to do it right, and I think that's been detrimental to me at times, in that, I've gilded the lily too many times, and I've painted the wall too many times, and I've knocked the wall down and rebuilt it too many times. I wouldn't have done it any different, but I would have been a lot richer, and potentially maybe would I have spent all this time getting a qualification for everybody else? Maybe not, but at the same time I do have no regrets, and my dogs, I've got 3 dogs, 2 Dobermans of Weimaraner, and they're my world, they're my babies, literally them kind of at the evening, last thing at night, kind of makes it all worth it. Everything kind of leaves my head. I have a different headspace. I'm able now to kind of close the door, forget about what's happening. Got some great senior management team, some great senior people around me that, take a lot of the stress away. And, very blessed at this age, being 54, that I'm supported in so many different ways, got great, great brothers and sisters. I've got great family kind of connection, which always is a very important aspect, I think, for anybody, that you can take time out. And I kind of surround myself with not a great number of people, but I know the 3 or 4 people that I've got around me don't blow smoke up my arse. They kind of say it as it is, and they'll tell me, get a grip, or that's not right, or you need to have a rethink about that. And I think last year, after a full year of kind of doing a teacher training and 3 years doing her own level 7, young blood, Laura Sexton coming in and now as a co-director joining the company has brought a fresh approach, a fresh energy, and it's reignited the flame. So I think, having someone to debrief, have a good banter, positive kind of attitude for me. I love surrounding myself with people who are kind of can-do attitudes. I think no matter what the problem, there's always a solution. So as long as the people that I think are around you have got the same kind of empathy and also the same passion, but most importantly, the same positive approach. So I think luck plays a great part, but I think destiny also. I'm a great believer in the planets and the universe and energy and all of that kind of stuff, really. So I think it's not just one thing. I think it's many things, and I think everything's just kind of aligned and come together. And the work ethic, my dad, being a miner, going all those hundreds of feet down, has given me a great work ethic. If you want anything, you need to work hard, and I think I've cut my cloth. I think I've worked really hard. Since the age of 16, I've worked 6-7 days a week. This place did become a beast at one point. It did kind of nearly break me, and I have had several moments where I thought, let's get rid of it, let's walk away from it, I don't want it. But generally, a good night's sleep and a real kind of moment of clarity always comes. I always think from those days when you have your worst day, it's always showing you that you just need to slightly shift your energy, slightly shift direction, maybe have a little talk with yourself, write it down, rethink it. So I think it's not just one thing. I think it's definitely having people around you that get you and ground you, but most importantly, they see your vision as what you do too.
Well, speaking of seeing a vision, a little bit of a two-parter. Mm-hmm. With your parents obviously being from more of a working class background, mm-hmm. and obviously now we're here, but when you first started within hairdressing and aesthetics, did they understand what you were doing and what your vision was? And then now do they understand, or is it?
My dad
still a little bit confusing?
My dad definitely didn't want a son to be a hairdresser.
Right.
I disappointed him, but now I think it's all his idea,
right.
As we know. I definitely know he's proud of me, and I definitely know he really respects what I've achieved and what I've done. But I think he also reminds me that I need to have more balance, more fun. So although I think he definitely gave me the work ethic, I think he also now kind of maybe wished he'd probably said have a bit more fun as well, because I think it's very difficult, what is right and what is wrong to bring up your children. I'm not, I don't have children, I just have dogs, but who get treated like children. I don't, I really don't know. I think, there's so many different ways that you can look at something, in that you can think, is it right to push your children to work harder, or is it better to give them an easier life? I don't know. I don't think there is a right or a wrong way to do it.
No. Well, at least now at this point, there's the respect,
mm-hmm.
and they understand the achievement that's come with it. But from now moving forward, what's the next little the next 2-year, 5-year goal within aesthetics and out of aesthetics?
I think the good thing about aesthetics is it's all going to kind of encompass well-being. My kind of part really is aesthetically, to look good on the outside, you need to look and feel good on the inside. So mental life coaching, I want to get more into life coaching, more into the well-being aspect, more into looking at treatments that are going to allow, people to feel good about themselves, to feel better inside out as well. So there's some great things that I'm looking at and training in myself, re-educating myself, constantly looking at how I can better myself. So there's definitely some new things coming. I don't think there'll necessarily be anything big coming in the facial kind of aesthetics part of it, but I definitely think in the well-being, I think 2023 will all be about how you can bring that well-being kind of arm to your business to support the aesthetics part of it. My goal is really, I think that there is a kind of a remix of the pathway. I think we've all talked about the pathway into aesthetics. I think I'd like to re-look at a new kind of qualification that I'm not going to really talk about just yet, but I definitely think that I've only just scratched the surface on what we can achieve over the next sort of 5 years. And on a personal level, we're bringing in, I've never been mentored, so I've just signed up with Respect, someone who's very big within their field, who's coming on board for the next 6 months to a training to mentor myself and Laura in taking the business to the next level. And I think it's always important to surround yourself with people who are better than you, who've already done it. So we've got some great kind of new things that we're looking at and new ideas, and there's going to be some offshoots to a training and what we're going to achieve and what we're going to do. But I think the set consensus is really keep that core value, keep what we do, making sure that we don't kind of dilute it in any way, is the aspect of what the brand stands for, not cheapening it.
Somebody might be listening to this podcast right now and wondering, is aesthetics for me? Is aesthetics not for me? Should it be something I should be getting into? I'm seeing that there's so much training going on. How do I necessarily choose which training centre to go to? How would you advise someone to weigh up their options moving forward, and whether aesthetics is for them moving forward, and what sort of assurances could you give to say that aesthetics is going to be in a healthy place moving forward?
For me, really, it's dedication to the consumer, to the client, to look at them in a holistic well-being point of view. And if you're somebody who wants to work with helping people to look and feel better about themselves, and do that in a way in which you're building a skill set that future-proofs your career, then look for a regulated qualification, the level 7. Make sure that the centre that you're attending has a good portfolio background. Make sure they've had an EQA visit. We've had 2 EQA visits where we've bossed it, 100% all great. And most importantly, go and visit that centre. If you're spending a lot of money, ask them to drop in. We have an open door policy where at any point someone can drop in, come and see us. It's not staged, every day is different, but every day is busy, every day is professional. Get a feel for it. As a creative person, you'll be into energy, you'll be into feel. You want to know that the educators are not consultants, in that they just drop in and they spend a day there, and you want to be those people who are dedicated full time, so they're on board, they're there, available, questions, emails, constantly to support you. And make sure that they're willing to answer all your questions. For me, I think I would definitely visit. I'd definitely visit the centre. If you're committing that amount of money, I'd want to see what it looks like, what it feels like, how many models, what are the educators like, will I feel supported? So definitely visit. Pick up the phone, chat to them, talk to them, and make sure that you kind of, the question that you should be asking is, what was your last kind of EQA visit report? Can I have a look at it? Can I see it? How many people of your company have or do hold the current level 7 qualification? Do they all have a certificate in education? That is a level 5 certificate. So make sure that the people that are going to be training you have actually got the skills themselves. And then importantly, that it's done in the right environment, because you don't want to be doing it in a hotel room or a meeting room. It wants to be a purpose-built training room, and that you know that you're going to get at least a minimum of 60 models throughout your training. You know, that's a minimum of 60 models. You know, unlimited, really, unlimited development days, and then support after you finished and completed your qualification, because things are going to come up, things are going to arise. You know, you need those kind of mentors to help you through it.
Brilliant. And with that, thank you very much, Chris, for joining us
Thank you,
on episode
Elliot.
2.
Thank you.